ọmọ mi ayọ̀ mi mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run tó fi fún mi. You are a blessing, not a lesson. I can't wait for you to call me daddy. Inú mi dùn, ayọ̀ mi kún. I feel so lucky that I got you. Inú mi dùn, ayọ̀ mi kún. I feel so blessed that I got you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to our program on parenting. And as usual, I begin by reminding us on how important parenting is. It's a noble task, like I always say. Parenting is something that can actually raise our status in Jannah, as it has been told in hadith of somebody who will be asking, why is my status raised? And they'll be told, because of your child who is doing dua for you. So may Allah guide us to actually bring up children who can do dua for us after we are gone. So last week we talked about some things that we want our children to actually develop and have through our good parenting skills, and I said they're very important. And the first one was empathy, and there was self-reliance, self-control, kindness, cooperation, and being cheerful. And when we look at all those are Islamic virtues that we want every Muslim to have. And what we are actually doing is bringing up a proper Muslim. Like as a parent, we want to bring up the ummah that will be next after us. So we are always bringing up the next ummah. So that is what we are really striving for. And then we came up with some tips that we can use as parents in our everyday parenting. So we did like 5-6 tips, and today we're actually going to start on our 7th tip. So don't worry if you didn't get to hear the tips last time. I will recap the tips before we finish the show. So I will continue with the tips, and then we'll recap all of them very briefly for anybody who didn't get to hear them the last time. So today we are starting with our tip number 7, and we are talking about being consistent. Most of the time as parents, we are not consistent. And when we are not consistent, we confuse our children. Like today we have set this rule, and tomorrow the rule is broken either by us or the child, and it has no consequences. So we have no consistency in the way we are bringing up our children. And when we don't have consistency, most of the time it leads to misbehavior. So this misbehavior will not be blamed on the child, but will be blamed back to us because we have not been consistent. You will notice that in school, most of the time, the teachers are very consistent with the rules they have set. And the children abide by these rules because of this consistency. So we need to bring the same approach to our homes. Once we have said this will not happen, we don't change it. So today we are punishing for something, tomorrow we are not punishing for the same thing. The other day we are actually saying this is not on, the other day we are allowing it. We are saying you can't watch cartoon at this time, and when they are watching, or we tell them put on the cartoon because I'm busy doing this. So the consistency is totally lost, and in that the child now will start having some form of misbehavior because there is no consistent rule. So once we don't have that in place, we will not blame them as I've put it. We will only end up blaming ourselves. And when we are setting some of these rules for these children, and in this consistency, we have what we call non-negotiables. Like this one is totally not on in this house. There are certain things that we just say, this will not happen in this house. We don't negotiate. We don't even sit down to talk about it again, because this is something that you're not going to allow. So once you've put it as a non-negotiable, you're not going to come back again and start negotiating on it. We have already given it that tag. It's not negotiable. And something that is not negotiable, most of the time will be something that you don't want at all to happen in your house. So there are certain things that you will not allow. And once you have that in place, you have to be totally consistent with your non-negotiables. Then we have other roles that maybe will change with age or will change with circumstances. But we don't just change them. We sit down and discuss them. Why are we changing this rule? what is going on. So our consistency still has to be in place, even as much as we are trying to explain all these things. It's also very important to remember that as parents, we are not parenting with power, we are parenting with wisdom. When we are parenting with wisdom, we achieve more than when we are parenting with power. So we need to ask ourselves, what wisdom are we applying, or are we just this parent who has a stick hanging and that is all what the children know? So we need to have a lot of wisdom as we are doing this parenting, and always remind ourselves we will achieve more with wisdom than we will achieve with power. And always remember that children will try to challenge power. They always try to push when they see that you're now parenting just with power. So with wisdom, they will learn a lot more when you're using wisdom than when you're just using power. Then the next tip is avoid harsh discipline. This one is really like something I never know how to go about it, because I believe punishment is important. We need to punish children once they do mistakes. But at what age should we punish? How should we punish? And when it is too harsh, it can be detrimental, like it will not achieve the results that we want. There are times when, as parents, we actually get really upset that why has this child done this? We have set certain rules, they are not keeping to their rules. And then we tend to go into very, very harsh punishment. And most of the time when we go into harsh punishment, we find that our children now will actually become more hardened, and they're more likely to even commit worse stuff than what they were doing before. I remember a case of a boy who was chased from school by the head teacher from a boarding school, and he did not go home. So the head called the parent and told them, the child, we have sent your child home. And the parent did not see the child, so the child didn't get home. So the child stayed away for almost 3-4 days. Nobody knew where he was. I think on the 5th day is when he decided he needed to get somebody who could take him home. So he went to an auntie to take him home. And then the auntie decided that, okay, let me also take him for counseling. So when the boy came, I asked him, why didn't you go home when you were chased from school? And he said, I knew that what was going to happen at home was going to be so bad. So I just decided to stay away. So I asked him, so where were you staying? And he says he was staying at a friend's place. So now, why is it detrimental? If this boy is staying at a friend's place for 4 days, what do we know he has picked from that friend's place in that 4 days? So is it better that he has the guts to come home, or is it better that he feels he has to hide away for some time? So as parents, when we are using punishment, we have to be careful that we don't mess our children up in the process. So the too harsh can be a bit detrimental, the way I've explained. Like the child might not even be able to come back. They might take away, they might run away, or they might decide, I need now to rebel. So at times of a harsh punishment can actually lead to worse results than what we expected. So punishment is allowed, and I always insist that let us punish a punishment that actually goes with the crime committed, that we don't say that you've committed this and then we are giving you a punishment that just doesn't equalize. It's just beyond what they did. So when we are talking about wisdom, this is where we apply this wisdom. This is the crime, so what punishment should we give? And punishment always does not have to be caning. We can punish with other ways without having to cane. And I think we have been told to start beating them at the age of 10 when they refuse to pray. So when we are caning a child of 5 years, I do not know where that is coming from and what we expect to achieve from that. So we need to get creative as parents and look at what form of punishment will have results. You know your children better. At times we have what we call timeout. We actually at times take back stuff that we have given them, or we even tell them that we are not going to do certain things. So we have to get really, really creative with this kind of punishment. And very harsh punishment also tends to make children be more aggressive. And they also believe that to solve any problem, you have to be aggressive. And they are also more likely to be bullies at school. Because once they are being harshly punished at home, they will go to school and try and bully other children and cause a lot of havoc in school and become very, very aggressive. And they are the ones who are most likely to get into fights because they believe everything has to be solved through a cane or through fighting. So we have to really know how we are going to balance that so that we are sure that we are doing the right thing. So we have to be creative. We will use a cane when necessary, but we have to also use it in a very responsible manner. So let's not get out of hand. Then our tip number 9 is explain your rules and your decisions to children. So at times we feel like we are the parents, we are the people who have given birth to you, we are the people providing you with everything that you have. So when we set rules and we make decisions, we don't need to explain anything to you. At times it sounds like just the way we in a country are. We have a president, we have rules, but we wouldn't want them to just come up with new laws without explaining to us. And that's the time you find people getting agitated. Why are we getting this kind of laws? Why didn't they even ask us what we thought about? The same way children will think of you as a government. This is the government in the house. Why are they setting these rules without letting us know? So we need to explain to them. They want to know what we want. They want to know why these rules are there. They want to know why we are making certain decisions. And at times we tend to think that they know why these rules are there. So the younger ones, we might actually be explaining to them, and then the teenagers, we are not explaining. We have this assumption they are old enough now to know what are the rules. They are not old enough to know. Please always be there to explain to them. Then rule number 10, our 10 tip is treat your child with respect. The best way to get respect is also to give respect. So respect is both ways. So when we are saying we are respecting our children, we will not use bad names or call them in bad ways and then expect them to respect us. So we need to respect them. Let us give them their space. Let us treat them like they are our children who deserve respect so that they can also respect us. And anybody, once you respect them, they always respect you back. So if we want our children to respect us, we must also respect them. So we are coming to the end of this first part, and we are coming back to the other part of the program. So as we go for the break, let us still continue thinking on those tips and actually see what we can work with. So I'll see you after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to our program on parenting. Today we are giving tips on parenting. And actually we were on our 10th tip, so we are going back to that tip. And the tip was treating your child with respect. So treat your child with respect. And the best way to get respectful treatment from your child is to treat them respectfully. When we treat children with respect, they also respect us back. So you should give your child the same courtesies that you give other people. So at times you find that when we are with other people, we really can have a different set of behaviors, the way we react. We have a lot of courtesies, but when we are with our children, we might not give them the same. So let us have these courtesies that we use outside also applied onto our children. Give your child, speak to him politely. The way we speak politely to other people, we should also teach our children to be polite by also speaking politely to them. Respect their opinion. The opinion might not be making a lot of sense at some point, but we can respect them to voice it, and then now we can counteract it either using Quran or Hadith or even the world view and explain to them why their opinion maybe needs to be amended. But at least we've listened to their to their opinion. So let us listen to their opinion. Pay attention when he's speaking to you. Like at times when children are speaking to us, we are busy doing other stuff. We never give them our eye contact. We don't listen to them. They are just talking and we are not listening. And I get a lot of children telling me, Mama doesn't hear. One actually told me my mom is always very busy. So I asked him, busy doing what? And he says, she's always busy doing something. So when I'm talking to her, she is busy. So children also notice when we are busy and we are not listening, and they know. So what they do is most of the time they will just stop talking to us because they feel that we are so busy, we are not listening. Then try to please them when you can. When you can do something nice for them, try and do it. Let's make them happy. Catch them when they are doing something nice and applaud them for it. Don't only wait for when they are doing something wrong and then we react. So let's not be reactive parents. Let's be parents who also catch them doing something nice and we reward them for that. So they always feel like it's not only when I'm being reprimanded that I'm being given this respect. So you are respecting them enough to even catch them when they are doing something nice. And also try to create a good relationship with your children, because this relationship will have a foundation for even when you two when they become adults, how they are going to treat you. So we are actually working towards when they become grown-ups and we are older, when we might be needing them a lot more, how will they treat us? Will they still have respect for us? It has to have been started from this early stage. So let us respect them so that we can also tap in getting this respect for our child. If your child is somebody who is very picky with their eating, let us look at what is it they like eating and not forcing them to eat things they might not really want to eat, and that is not respecting them. Because even there are certain things I don't like eating. So will not have anybody force me to eat them. So let us look at our children's eating. Let us see what are the things they like eating. And when I talk about eating, I'm not saying because they love junk. Every child loves chips. Every child likes pizza. I'm not talking of such foods. There are foods, let's say, something like peas. You want them to eat peas. They don't like them. Why don't you try and introduce something different and see what they like? Or actually look at what is it that they like and work with that. The same way we don't like being pushed to eat things we don't like, the same way our children also don't like being pushed to eat things they like. So let us also respect what they like and what they also don't like, so that we don't turn our meal times into a fighting time the whole time. You find very many parents complaining that during meal times they are not eating, they are just playing around with their food. So let us ask ourselves, are we actually giving them what they want to eat, or are we giving them what we would love to eat? So let us also respect them, that they also would love to eat certain foods, and even sit down maybe and plan a meal with them. Like or even plan our meals for the week with them. What do we cook this day? What do we do on Tuesday? And they can actually be looking forward. When you ask them, what do you eat in school? They're very fast to tell you. On Monday, they give us this. On Tuesday, we eat this. Wednesday. But if you ask them, what is your meal plan at home? Most of the time, they don't know, because we don't have anything already planned. So that is where we get to our 10 tips on parenting. They are very simple tips that we can all try to implement in our homes to see this change in our children. And as parents, we are always learning something new. We are always trying new stuff because we want the best for our children. So to recap these tips, I'll go through them very fast again. What did we start with? The first tip was what you do matters. This was just basically us. It's just a spotlight on ourselves, that whatever we do, our children will pick. So everything that we are doing, remember, your children are picking. The phone conversations that we are having, they are listening in. And when we are lying, they know and they pick that up. So we are actually teaching them behavior by how we ourselves behave. And I think we know that the best of characters was Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and that we all try to be like him. So you also have to try to be a person with good character that your child can actually work with. So the whole time we are conscious of what we are doing, what we are saying, how we are doing it. So these children are observing. So tip number 2, you cannot be too loving. We explained that our children need a lot of loving. They need unconditional love. And loving our children, I said, will not spoil them. What spoils them is loving them the wrong way. And the wrong way, we said, is trying to give them gadgets, trying to give them stuff or bribes because we are not present in their lives. So loving and giving are two different things, which I wanted us to bring out across. And I also explained that Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has taught us how to love children. So let us apply all that, and with unconditional love. We also talked about being involved in your child's life. And being involved, we said that you're present in your child's activities. You're actually doing stuff with them. If it is homework, you're doing homework with them. Maybe even asking them to get into the kitchen and cook with you and do stuff with you. Play with them. Actually take even time out to go to the field and play with these children. That is being actively involved with your children. And I also reminded that being involved is not actually doing their homework. It's just helping them with the homework and being there with them, and the whole time connecting with them. And then we said, adapt your parenting to fit your child. Like we said, every child is different. Every child has a different personality, a different temperament. So we also learn our children and learn which child needs what and what child doesn't need what. And then also not looking across the fence at how somebody else is doing it and trying to apply it on our children. Our children are different from those other children. Learn your children and make sure that your parenting adapts to the children that you have. Then we said establish and set rules. We actually started by saying schools have establish and set rules, but most homes do not establish or set rules. So sit down with our children, establish some rules and set rules for them. And these rules have to be adhered to. They're not just rules to be played around with. And then we said foster your child's independence. We agreed everybody loves some form of independence, some form of autonomy. Even our children are trying to achieve that. And at times we misread it by thinking they're being rebellious. So let's allow them some form of independence. And we talked of being consistent. Whatever rules we have set, we stick by them. And being consistent, if we are not, then our rules will not work. And everything just becomes a sham, and we really don't go anywhere when we have rules that we are not keeping, and we actually start seeing some form of misbehaving. And we said avoid harsh punishment. So let's not cane harshly. Let us come up with punishment that can actually work and that can modify behavior. Explain your rules and decisions. Sit with your children, explain why you have these rules in place, and explain the decisions that you're making so that they are part of it and they don't feel left out. And then the last one was treat your child with respect. So we said we treat our children with respect if we want them to respect us. So we're coming to the end of our program. Those 10 tips, I think, are very simple tips. We can all try to apply and see how it works. So until I see you next week, this is Riziki from Hidayah Timeless.
Ọmọ mi, ayọ̀ mi, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run tó fi fún mi. You are a blessing, not a lesson. I can't wait for you to call me daddy. Inú mi dùn, ayọ̀ mi kún, I feel so loved.